choice in our lives to identify ourselves. Say, I am a dolphin, I am a cow, I am a heart, I am a human. We have a choice to identify with that form. I am an employee, a mother, a child, a sister, a brother. I'm a sad person, I'm a happy person. This happened to me, I'm a survivor, I'm a champion. All these things are the forms. But underneath the forms is the truth. That's the same, regardless of the changing forms and changing experiences and changing identities, changing thoughts, changing emotions. All these things that change are the form. Like a thought is form, because a thought can change. The first rule of the truth is it never changes. No matter what you make out of that clay, it's still going to be clay. The truth is the same. It doesn't change. The truth doesn't change. Okay? So it's like the life force within all life. It doesn't change. The forms change. Grass, tree, plants, alligator, bird. But within all of that, it's the same truth of life. So, if you want to change something about yourself, you don't have to fix it and work on it, and struggle and fight it. I wish I wasn't sad anymore. I've got to find a way to change this sadness. No, you don't. Just realize that sadness is form, which means it's not the truth, which means it's always changing. When you realize that the truth never changes, that is why they say the truth will set you free. You don't have to work on it. You could smash that dolphin and make a tree. You don't have to try to change the dolphin, because it never was a dolphin. It was always clay. That's why when you identify with the form, you think it's hard to change it, because you think that's what it is, but it's not what it is. When you identify as the truth, you change like that, because you take yourself to zero and make up something new. Because what you think you are now was just the thought, something you made up based on whatever you found in your bag of life when you were a child. And you said, oh, now this is what I own, and this is who I am. No, you were always the truth. No matter what happened to you, no matter what you ever did, whether you told a lie or stole something, or someone stole something from you, or told you a lie, or did something bad, treated you bad, none of it ever defined you. Defined you. That's what identifying is. I am this. When you realize that you never were that, you're free to create anything out of the truth. A dolphin, a heart, a cow, a CEO, a homeless person, a new home, a new place to live, a new friend, whatever. I'm the creator of it all. That's the truth. So, when you ask me about avatar, Lucelena, the avatar is what you created. So the cow is what you created. You are the creator that created the cow. You are not the cow. You are the creator that created your experience. You are not the experience. Since you created it, since you are what created it, you can change your avatar anytime. So when I'm running in the hills, I do this meditation. It came to me a few times, and I said, I am the intelligent, infinite, loving, life force that thinks the creative thoughts that move the action, that inspire the action, that shapes and forms the avatar. So, let me say something about that. I am the creative life, I am the intelligent, infinite life force of all possibilities. I might be focusing on this, that, and the other, but I can focus on anything. I am that intelligent attention that focuses everywhere. And that intelligent attention comes up with thoughts. It thinks thoughts. And those thoughts move me to do something. But when I say move me to do something, what most people say is, I am doing something. Me. But what they're referring to is the avatar that they already created as me. I'm saying, I am the intelligent life force that moves this body and this mind. It's my body, it's my mind. I own it. I am not it. I own it. What owns it, if I identify with the intelligent life force, is that all-knowing intelligent life force that can create anything. So I'm now here looking back at my avatar, this. Avatar's there, my body, and I'm the life force that moves this into action in life, which gives me all power over this. Instead of this having power, instead of this having little limited power, well, I have this body and I have this mind and I grew up in this place and I have this job and I have this car and this, that's all me. It's not. It's not. It's what this has created of me. So I am one with what created me because it created me out of itself. So I have to be it. No one is not it. I am it. That's your sentence about I am God. What was it again?
Be still and know that I am God at work in this situation.
Be still and know that I am God at work in this situation. That's taking yourself out of this form, and realizing that I'm the spirit, or clay, that is moving this form in this situation. Which means I'm not limited to what this has done before. I'm not limited to my story, what I think about me. Because this doesn't know what it doesn't know. I mean, this doesn't know what, if I limit myself into what this knows, it doesn't even know all that this knows. So if I'm saying that I'm identifying over here, and I'm looking back at the form, and I'm saying, how do I want the form to move? What do I want the form to think? What do I want the form to be? What do I want the avatar to be today? Then I have all this freedom to have it walk any way I choose to have it walk. And I'm not stuck in the past or the story because I know that's not me. It never was me. It's just an availability. There's no bad in it. All that information, all that experience, all that knowledge is available to me, but it doesn't limit and define me because that's not what I am. I'm something much bigger. I am the unlimited, intelligent, loving force. And I say loving because, you know, when I'm out and the sun shines on me, I can feel it in my cells. I mean, it changes the color of my body. And it feels like a warm, loving blanket, and it's always there for me. You know, the sun is always there, even if there's, you know, clouds in the sky, whatever, it's always there. And I'm made from that. We're all made from that. That's why nobody is more and nobody's less than anybody else. The sun doesn't stop shining on anybody. It does not, it's not particular to anything, it's all inclusive. We're all included, and we all are it. So that's why it's important to consciously identify here. That's where the freedom's at. Identify here, I'm limited. So choose the truth over form. I am the clay, not the dog or the dolphin or the heart or the cow. I say dog just because I was thinking somebody might have made a dog. Truth shall set you free. When you want to change, smash it and start over. Don't fix it. Don't waste time. You don't have to waste time because when you go to zero, there's nothing to fix. Does that make sense? Do you get that? There's nothing to work on. Does that make sense?
Well, if you dismiss something, then you don't have to fix it because it's gone. So that's what you mean by going to zero.
Yeah. Exactly. Because once I realize that this is what I really am, then all the illusion, all the so, like I might say, I am poor, or I am depressed, or I am whatever. And I'm thinking that that's a thing. Poor is a thing, or depressed is a thing. It's something that I have to change. But it's a thing because I'm creating it, so I'm having the experience of it. And if I'm working on changing it, I'm creating that experience. But if I get to zero, I don't have to hold on to that anymore. If I identify here, then I can say, wait, that's an experience I created. Which means I don't have to work on changing that. I just have to decide where I want to put my attention, what I want to create now. And that replaces it. And I'll say more about that. All right, so there's nothing to fix. Don't waste any time. The clay is already perfect. It knows how to live healthfully. This body is already perfect as long as I stay out of the way of it and don't make anything up negatively about it. That's what I need to pay attention to. I am all power. I am all knowing. I am healthy already. So if I don't make up anything that gets in the way of it, I don't have an experience that gets in the way of the perfection of it. All right, so Bruce Lipton, heard of Bruce Lipton? Everybody, okay, Bruce Lipton is a cell biologist, studied cells, a professor, and he found, what he found in the cells in the human body is they used to think that the DNA was the brain of the cell, and anything, if it has a brain, if you take the brain out, it dies. But what he found out is they took the DNA out, and the cell survived. So it couldn't have been the brain. And what he found was the brain actually didn't exist in the DNA in the middle of the cell. The brain was in the outer layer of the cell, in the membrane, which is kind of interesting that it's the same word, membrane. So people say, you know, nature or nurture. Is it your environment that creates who you are, or is it your DNA that creates who you are, or is it something you were, something you were taught, or so do we have choice, free will, all this stuff? Okay, so if we use this cell as a metaphor for how we work, then the outer environment has an effect on us, just like it has an effect when we're kids, when we start believing that's who we are, because that was the experience we had when we were kids. But if we got switched when we were, in the hospital, and you went off to live with some affluent family or some family in another culture or whatever, you would have had a completely different experience. Same you, same DNA, but you would have grown up thinking you were something else because of that experience. So the outer environment of the cell affects the cell. The same way when you think a thought that flushes a chemical, it's going to affect your cell. And what happens is cells have receptor sites. And the more particular emotion you have, the more particular chemical is hitting that cell, more receptor sites for that particular emotion are going to happen on that cell. So then you've got more receptor sites, which means you can take in more chemical, which then your cell starts saying, give me more, give me more. So if you're really, really sad, you're gonna want more of that. Your body is gonna start asking for more of that chemical. And if you're really, really happy, you'll have more receptor sites for that. You're gonna feel happy more often because you're taking in more into that cell. The cell's gonna have the experience of whatever emotion you're feeling more often. Which is another way of saying whatever you put your attention on grows, and whatever you take your attention away from goes away, because the receptor sites grow, and the less you have, the receptor sites for that particular emotion will go in. So imagine that you are a cell in the body of humanity, or whatever, life, and you're walking around and you have this skin, And you have this outer environment, and your skin takes in things, and you start to put out more feelers for whatever you're used to, and take in more, receive. So you have your receptors. You open up to something. You give permission to let it in, just like a cell does. So if you're used to a particular, this is huge, right? If you're used to a particular experience, you are going to be seeing more of it. You're going to be feeling that emotion and seeing more of it and thinking that's what the world is, because that's the 40 bits you're picking up out of the 40 million of everything that's there, because you have more receptor sites for it. So there's a saying, or whatever, it has been said, that the gates of heaven open inward. The gates of heaven open inward.
I've never heard that before.
Okay, so this is a big one. Imagine that these receptors are like gates. You give permission and let things in, and you close them and keep things out. So, the gates of heaven open inward. Imagine, what do they always say about heaven? It's within you. Heaven is within. It's not out here somewhere. It's within you. That's where you experience heaven, inside yourself. So, say you have a gate. What is your heaven? You like cows. You like dolphins. You have a beautiful description of that heart and why the heart meant something to you. When you're talking about that, that's an experience, right? That's something, that's heaven for you. Peace. And we all have so much more. We all have our own ideas of what heaven is. That's what we let in. Heaven to me is, something that feels like the sun when I'm going for a run. Heaven to me is I've gone for a run, I'm hot and sweaty, and I dive in the ocean. That's heaven. That's heaven to me. That feeling is heaven to me. Okay. So, if I've ever had an experience of that, I can call on that experience at any time and feel that inside my body at any time. Because you choose the emotion ahead of time. Not based on circumstance. And that's what non-circumstantial means. What's another word for non-circumstantial? Unconditional. Same word. Non-circumstantial, unconditional, which means conditions do not dictate my emotions. I do. I generate them. I don't pull them from outside. That's false. Pulling an emotion from outside is false. Emotions arise from within. So if I create heaven inside my body, and I say I'm not letting anything that's not heaven to me in, I have that power. Because the gates open inward, and I'm the one who gives the permission to open and close the gates. So if something shows up in my environment that I don't feel is heaven, the gates are closing. You bring me heaven, or my gates are closed. But here's the thing. How do I stay in heaven if I'm walking around judging everything as good, bad, right, wrong? You can't. You can't. You have to remain in heaven in order to see heaven and experience heaven. So all of a sudden, you're not walking around judging everything good, bad, right, and wrong. Scary, right? If I see everything as good, I might end up with something bad not knowing it's bad. It doesn't happen. Because you can tell. When you're in heaven, you can tell what's not heaven. And you close your gates. You don't give permission to something that doesn't feel good. Because there are things that don't feel good. And when you see them, you just keep moving. And you go, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven here. I'm in heaven. I don't stick around what doesn't feel like heaven. You just don't. You create it inside first. You feel it. You know you're in it. You know this is your choice. If you choose. If you choose. It's your choice. Some people choose not heaven. Some people choose to be in hell. Hell is like, it's horrible. Everything's terrible. Complaint. It's bad. But sometimes people need that. To experience that for some reason, because there's some critical thought in their mind that says, I need this in order to allow myself that. And that's process. That's okay. That's okay. There's no judgment. There's no judgment on anything. It's all good. It's all available. It's all choice. There's no, you should be in heaven. You know, you can. No. You should follow your own process. Whatever works for you. Whatever makes sense to you. Be in that. Find the process that works for you from where you're at. Because your mind is brilliant. Your mind will choose and give permission to what makes sense to you. That's what minds are for. They're ours. I'm not my mind, but I can use my mind. I can use my mind in a healthy way to create my life however I want. And it is where it is, and I am where I am, and I'll start from here and go where I'm going. So, habit creates more habit, and that's where addictions come from, when we're just used to something. So when they say turn the other cheek, if you want to create a different experience, you don't have to focus on what you don't want. You just turn the cheek and focus on what you do want. That's all you need to do. Because we all know that when you focus on the problem, you get more of the problem. You figure out how the problem works. And when you focus on the solution, you figure out how the solution works. And that's the don't want, do want, already have. It's the law of attraction. Don't want, do want, already have. So, I'll just say quickly about how this works. Our mind often thinks of what we don't want. That's hell. That's what we complain about. When we're in complaint and hell, we're in the don't want. But the don't want, I think, is like a trampoline. A lot of people stay in the don't want. They just live their life in the don't want. I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this person I'm with. But see, I gave permission to the don't want. That's why it's in my life, because I gave permission to it. But if we use it like a trampoline and we realize it's an availability that works for us, our mind says, I don't want this, and you go, oh yay, I found a don't want. You can celebrate it. You go, woohoo, a don't want. Why? Because as soon as I realize that there's a don't want, all I got to do is flip it into the do want. If I don't want Cheerios, I do want my salad. If I don't want someone who hits me, I do want someone who hugs me. If I don't, see, so it's easy. It's really easy. You just don't live in it. But when you find it, get excited, because then you can find out what you do want. And here's the law of attraction, just really quickly. I'm not going to talk too much about it. But after you flip from the don't want to the do want, you say, okay, so I do want a salad, or I do want a Mercedes-Benz, or I do want money, or I do want friends, or I do want a home. Whatever it is you do want, in order to bring it in vibrationally, you have to change it to already have. Because when you say, I want something, that is an affirmation that you don't have it. That's why you want it. If you already had it, you don't have to say, I want it. So you don't want to stay in the affirmation that you don't have, because that's depressing. And it doesn't bring it to you. I do want a job. Why? Because I don't have a job. If I walk as if I already have it. And here's the reason you already have it. Here's the reason you already have anything you can think of. If your mind can think of it, you can have it. Here's the reason. Because you are it. You are life happening right now. You're it. There's nothing else. You're it. You are life right now. You grew out of what everything grew out of, which means everything is you. It's already yours. The only reason it's not yours is because you're telling yourself it's separate from you. It's not separate from you. If you walk in that you already have it, that's how it shows up. And then your mind works on the process that finds the way. And the universe finds a way. It brings it to you. I wasn't going to go into this too much. Let me just check my time. 2:45. Because that's like it's a whole other thing. It is. It really is. It really is. When you walk as if you already have it, you bring it to you because people think you are that. That's why they say dress the part or that you're going for, not the one that you already have. Be the already have for what it is you're going for, basically. Not just dressing, but in everything, the way you feel. If you think you're going to feel better with something other than you already have, imagine that you already have the thing you'll feel better with. Feel better now, and that thing shows up. But again, okay. Okay, all right, so we're going to do something right now because I'm going to try to catch up on time. All right, so we're going to pair up, and everybody get your books, your Belief in Your Awesomeness book. Oh, you got it, and you're following along. Thank you for doing that. I didn't really mention it, but awesome. Okay, so it goes fundamentals, and then it goes the truth of you, and then right after the truth of you, it says script for who you are, questions. So Lizette and Lena, you two pair up, okay? And then you and I will pair up. And
Do you want me to turn this off?
okay, so the script is you're going to choose an A and a B, and we're still taking this part, right? And then, okay, good, thanks. Okay, so you're going to choose an A and a B. All right. After you do, A is going to ask B, who are you? B is just going to be quiet for a second and just whatever comes up. And if it comes up instantly, say that. But you're going to ask that question three times. Who are you? Okay, but the first time you ask it, she's going to answer, and then you're going to say, from the script, you're going to say, release that, you're much more than that. Okay, and then you're going to ask her again. And then she's going to give another answer. You're going to say, release that, you're much more than that, and ask her again. She's going to give another answer. She's going to give 3 answers. And then you're going to say, release that, you're much more than that. And the last thing you'll tell her after she gives you 3 answers is, you are always much more than you can perceive with your mind. Because the truth is bigger than any of us know. We can never say it, the words. And it's on there. So, yeah. Okay. After you tell her you are always much more you can perceive with your mind, then you're going to switch, and she's going to ask you, who are you? Okay? And you're going to answer 3 times, and she's going to say that to you. Okay? She's going to say, release that, you're much more than that, and then you are always much more than you can perceive with your mind. Then you're going to switch, and you're going to do it again. Okay? So you're going to give, she's going to give 3 answers again. You're going to switch, and 3 answers again. So you're going to do it twice. 3 answers, switch, 3 answers, and then do it again. Switch, 3 answers, 3 answers. Okay?